Testing, testing. Okay. So, first of all, I'm house sitting right now, so that's why that's why where I am changed. I traded in the roaring trucks for children playing outside, so nothing changed there. But what I'm doing this week is I'm going for a marketing push, and I'll try to do that every 3 months. So this week will be mostly marketing stuff. And what I'll do is, first of all, I'll release a larger update on Friday that says that the coast region is now done. That's on Steam. Then I will up my shorts game. So the YouTube shorts are basically just gameplay clips, but I want to make them a bit more interesting. Don't go overboard, because yeah, I don't want them to take up too much time and time away from the game. But I will probably add a small voiceover to each of them, and make them more targeted towards a feature or something specific in the game. And if you have ideas on how I could make them better, please put them in the comments or in the chat if you're listening. The next thing I'll do is I'll change all these Steam assets. So the game will get a new trailer, it will get all new screenshots. I'll update the Steam description and make a new run video. So all the Steam stuff will change. I'll change the capsule art from currently it's at night and in the I think it's the forest region, the backdrop. I'll change that to the coast and to daytime probably, and all the other assets with it. So that will take probably 2 days, including the trailer. Hey Lurker, how's it going? I hope to do that in 2 days. So that will all happen on Friday. Then I will write 2 posts on Reddit, well, at least one, for the Roguelike dev forum, where I'll chronicle everything that happened in the last 3 months. And then I'm not sure what else to do. I could do a Q&A video for YouTube, or I could do a what is Rangedrifter video that explains the game, or I could do both. I'm not quite sure what would be better. Maybe a Q&A could also work on stream, but for that I would need some time to announce it so that enough people are on stream. So maybe collecting the questions in Discord would be a better idea for now, and then making the video. Yeah, so but I'll announce that on Discord if I decided. If you have any ideas on how I could market the game better, specifically this week, please let me know. And yeah, another idea was that I will tease the next region that I'll add. Collect on Discord, answer them on stream, and some additional live questions, and then turn that to a video. Yeah, that's actually that's a good idea. And I'll probably, even if I preload all the questions or I gather them before I make a video offline, I would still have to edit the video. So that may actually be the best way to do it. But I would first need questions. So, and if there's even interest in me answering them, but I think that shouldn't be a problem. So that would be collect the questions and then answer them on stream, and then create a video from that. Yeah, so what will happen 100% this week is the new trailer for Steam, the new assets, and the Q&A video if I have time, or I may release that on the weekend after the update. And the Reddit posts, I'm not sure. Reddit is kind of finicky, so they may not accept a post because of their self-promotion rules. But I think they have a 3-month limit or so. But the problem is if I take the time to write, if I take maybe 5-6 hours to write a thoughtful post and then they just reject it, then yeah, that's just wasted time. So I'll look more into it, but I should be able to post. Maybe I'll ask the mods before I post it. So that's all the marketing stuff for this week. What I'll need to do with the game is I need to bring the coast region up to par with the forest. So if I jump into the editor and go into the coast, there are some regions that are a bit samey right now, and they are not quite as diverse as the forest. So if I look at a random place in the forest, then I have bridges, I have temple entrances, temple buildings, and spider nests, kobold camps. Then I have these larger temples. I have a flooded forest. I have large ruins, and that's all present in the coast as well. But as you can see right here in this, if you look at the lime colored rectangle, I have pillars, I have a temple down here, but there's a lot of dead space as well. And yeah, here as well. And I think it's just because there are a few less dungeons. So that's a goal, adding a few more dungeons. And also the blooming valley right here is pretty distinct. And I would want at least one other region in the coast be this recognizable. So if I look over here, so this one is pretty recognizable because it's all paved. But if you look at this part, it's lacking something. And here as well. So dungeons is one thing. The other thing is that there are way fewer of these puzzle rooms than in the forest, but I'm not quite satisfied with them. And just to show you what I'm talking about, these rooms right here. So they are kind of hidden, not really. I would like them to be hidden completely so that you don't see the entrance, but it's kind of obvious that there is one like this. And then instead of having a puzzle in them, I'll just have the chest and maybe a trap or something, or a monster. Because the puzzles slow the game down too much, I think. And removing the entrance would make this a secret, which is good. And in the future, I could put the NPCs in here, or I could make these rooms more interesting in general, with probably choices for tools or weapons where you can pick one. Think of the very first Legend of Zelda, where you find a vendor and you can choose one item to take with you. Something in that vein. But yeah, those rooms are very rare in the coast. So that's another thing. In addition to the dungeons. But I have to be careful with my time here. So I'll probably only have 1 or 2 days to work on the game. And yeah, the question is what would make this better? Probably, I mean, it's not terrible. The course is still pretty diverse. So maybe if so this is pretty unique. These are the beaches, but this yellow rectangle is pretty samey, as is this village with this village. So maybe if I just change the color of the vegetation in one part, that would make it much more interesting. And that would be a small thing to do. Little effort, I mean. So I'll probably create 5 more dungeons. And then add 20 of these rooms. I'll probably just put loot in them and maybe a monster. And I'll remove the entrance. Just for those that I know are pretty obvious without them. And then I'll change the vegetation color. For one sub-region. And so everywhere where there's the same yellow number, that's one sub-region. And well, one's maybe not enough. Vegetation color for probably 2 sub-regions. Are you looking for low-hanging fruits before the 1.0 release or something? No, this is not 1.0. This is just the bringing the coast to a better state before I start with the next region. So that's just basically just cleaning up things that I neglected. So that I can then on Friday say, okay, the coast is now done. Not completely done. I'll go over it many times in the future, but it's at a state where I can say this is enough, so I can move on to the next region. So that's the plan. So 1.0 is still quite a ways away. And for 1.0 I would need at least one more region. Preferably 2, but yeah, 2 would be better. But I will take a couple of weeks to work on the gameplay before I start with the next region, because yeah, the gameplay also kind of guides what the next region would look like. So how many regions and what kind of regions is a good question for a Q&A. Yeah, that's a good question. So let me open the Q&A page. How many regions and what kind of regions? That's a good question. Yeah, I think a Q&A would be really helpful to clear up a lot of things and bring everybody on the same page. But I think that's basically it. So dungeons, secret rooms, vegetation, that should be enough. Am I missing something important? Don't think so. Everything else is there. I could do a if I look at the boundaries, some of them still collapse kind of weird. So if this one looks pretty good, but let's look at this one. Also good. This one will look fine as well. But there are some that create artifacts that I don't want. Every time I play the game and I see one, I fix them immediately. Here, for example. So this will create a bad tessellation. With these, you can see these two tiles dangling in a weird way. So that's something I could fix. Problem is I have to look at probably each of them, because I don't have an algorithm to detect this. And it gets complicated if boundaries are very near to each other. So how I would fix this is I'll remove this tag and bring it over here. So if I jump in again, it's now clean. So yeah, I'll probably do that as well. So sorry I haven't had time to play the game yet. Can the player and monsters be on different elevation levels? They can't fight across different levels, but they can chase each other down. That may change if I add something like throwing potions. But for now it's all these boundaries, they are basically blocking. They're non-passable and also block projectiles, kind of. You can shoot over them, but it would go over the entity's head that's standing below. Yeah, one thing I could also do is change the robbers. So for a couple of weeks now, I wanted to remove the human enemies because they don't quite fit the setting. But I can't think of a good alternative. So where are some barrels? Right here. So these robbers over here. They are tied to the barrels. So everywhere I place barrels in the world, these robbers will spawn. So I would need to replace the barrels as well, probably. And I was thinking of goblins, but I already have a ghoul in the game, so that takes up the G character. And I haven't thought of a good monster that could preferably also take on the steal ability of the robbers. So robbers will steal items from you when they hit you. So yeah, that's something I could finally tackle as well. But then I'm probably out of time. Bandits, non-humans can be bandits. Yeah, but I would have to explain that they're not human. It could be a type of zombie maybe, but That's also a bit lame because I already have the ghouls. So maybe not sure. Also, you need a race breed of monsters. Yeah, it could be anything, really, as long as it fits the setting and fits the behaviors of the monsters in the game, so that I don't have to program something crazy. Still no medicine. What's the next region? That's the question. So it would probably be easier if I tackle the mountains, because I don't need a new palette or new palette colors, or maybe just one or two. And it's also the more interesting region elevation wise. So the pull of the game is that it has the 3D elevation changes, and the mountains would play into that pretty nicely. But yeah, the alternative is, so the fourth region would probably be a swampy region, or it could be, so it definitely will have something like a swamp or mangroves, and it'll have maybe a jungle, but I try to keep I want to keep the regions kind of cohesive, so that it's not too jarring or too unrealistic, having completely different biomes. So in this size of a map, at least. So yeah, that's already kind of bad with the coast, because it looks completely different from the forest. I mean, there's a large gradient between the coast and the forest, so I think it's fine. But yeah, properly running into a swampy region would be pretty jarring. So the mountains can gradually grow, and I have part of the terrain of the mountains, so it's all empty right now, but it's also not detailed enough, but the outlines are there. So that would probably be the most natural thing. Another thing, so the question is, do I just work on one of the next regions, or do I work on the game in subregions? So maybe adding this part of the mountains in 1 week, and then this part in the second week, and then maybe jumping down to the mangroves for a week. I mean, it would probably make the game more cohesive, but it's also less exciting to have a dribble of new areas. So right now, up until now, I made it so that I always released a quarter of the coast, which is probably 5 to 8 subregions at once. But I'm not sure what's better. Yeah. But it'll probably be in mountains. And yeah, so the mountains are quite large. They are just as large as the forest or the coast. So there's a lot of room for diversity here as well. So dividing it into subregions may actually make the game or the region more variable. Hey Lily, slept through the beginning of stream here now. No worries. I just talked about the marketing push for this week, and I'm collecting questions for a Q&A video. Well, I love mountains, and they sound like a region the game should definitely have. Yeah. Glad you think so. I just have to make them convincing. And I think dividing them up into smaller chunks of work would give me time to come up with better ideas. But I still want them out so the next region will probably take 3 months, just like the coast did. And that's ambitious. So not sure. I'll figure it out. I've done it before, so it should be fine. I blame a lot of the ring for my love of the mountains. Yeah, people always say, would you rather go to the beach or in the mountains? But why not both, actually? Both equally amazing. So I have the beach in the game, so now I need the mountains. But this is actually, so this whole map, I basically have half of it now on the right hand side. So if you imagine this rectangle, the green one, as being the whole game map, the yellow part would be the forest. Below that would be the coast. Then the mountains would be left of the forest. And then the fourth region below that. But the game data has space for a whole row of regions outside of that. And that's also the goal, to in a couple of years have this filled in completely. So that would be then 16 regions. Hey Ethan, someone's moved offices. Finally moved to your mansion. Yeah, this is my new mansion. I'm just house sitting right now. So that's where I am. Yeah. Parents' place? Exactly. Is your mansion near some mountains or beaches? Sadly, no. Quite far from everything. I still have forests, so that's nice. Okay. So, I'm not sure when I would release the Q&A video or when I would do the Q&A stream. Would depend on when most people have time to join. Not sure if that's on the weekend or on a work day. I'd also give a heads up with a the date that's like a week or two away. Yeah. So it'll probably be in a week. But maybe earlier. Maybe on Friday. Not sure. So yeah, just to reiterate for you two guys. This week will be mostly marketing. So I'll update the Steam assets. I'll make a new trailer. I'll post on Reddit. I'll do a Q&A. And maybe I'll do a what is Rangedrifter video. But not sure what that would look like. But I think it would be helpful for people to get an idea of what the game is. Maybe I'll even put that on Steam. Does that make sense? Not sure. Okay. So let's look at the vegetation. If I won't place that by hand because that's would be overkill. But if I say, let's look at one that's away from the blooming valley. And subregion 7 looks pretty promising actually. Is that the same one? Northern Ridge. So if I change all the all the bushes to maybe magenta or something, well, I think that's too close. Let's look maybe on the cliffs. I mean, it should have some kind of connection to reality. So maybe this plateau, but it's already distinct. But 7 here could be a candidate. Let me turn off the boundaries. Yeah. So it's pretty dense vegetation, pretty dry vegetation. That's actually also distinct. So let's look for something that's more boring. Okay, this is a huge, all of these 9s. It's a huge area. That's also pretty boring. And it's far from anything. Well, it's not. It's directly adjacent to the Blooming Valley. Yeah, but this all looks samey. I know you can't probably see much when I scroll around. Sorry about that. Okay, that's also not great. Five. I think 6 would benefit. From different colored bushes, but also not that much. And 5 is mostly grass. 6 is pretty distinct. So these numbers repeat. So they are different subregions, but I only had 1 digit. So well, actually, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. But when I play the game, there's no way to tell if I landed in 4 or if I landed in 7. So let's take 7. And I could just, well, it's mostly grass. Maybe I change the grass color for it. What about 8? Well, 8 is also pretty samey. I mean, I could also change the ground. What if I make it more sandy? Basically extend this type of ground up north. Let's just do that. Let's actually make a backup copy. Of the terrain so I don't mess up. Let's not place stuff. And let's look at all the brown patches. Let's turn them into sand. And let's add one here. I mean, that's not bad. I think I need to change the hills as well, probably to stone. But that's already better. Let me take stone and change all these hills. So yeah, that's definitely a change. Let's look for more of these. So 3 and 4 are pretty samey. That's okay. Well, 3 is pretty large, so it's actually kind of a problem. There's no easy way out. Okay, so 8 looks pretty similar to 7. Except that it doesn't have grass. Well, it has a bit of grass. And 5 is also pretty samey. But I could continue what 9 is doing with the rocks and sand. And I think I'll do that. Wow. Okay, that's pretty large. But it's also called Thorny Slope, so that wouldn't make too much sense to make this all stone. Not that easy. This looks pretty bad. Let's add something here. I could add green stone slabs. That would make this more distinct. If I add quite a few of them. Especially where I have the pillars. Right here. Okay, 5 is also here. Here more pillars. And 5 is pretty large. Starting to think that it's more than one subregion, but let's see. Nope. Okay, more pillars here. Not sure why I added all the dirt where I put the pillars. That's a bit unfortunate, but also not a big deal. Man, okay, this continues on. Oh, possible bug from the last update. You can't slow walk through crab form. Yeah. Not sure if it's a bug yet, because... Well, yeah, you probably should be able to walk through it, just for continuity. Or, yeah. But it kind of seems weird to slow walk through foam. But you're right, that's a problem. Okay, is it plastered enough? Probably. Okay. Let's look at one more. Maybe 8. 8 is pretty... So 7 is fine. It's pretty... That's full of these dry looking shrubs. But 8 is pretty lame. But it's also a village. So let's just put some dirt down. To make it less samey. Not sure why I haven't done that before. Might have just missed it. The fact it hurts when you walk through it and there's no real way to deal with it other than waiting till it disappears, kind of annoying. Yes, I mean you could kill the crab and that normally removes all the foam, but you're right. Waiting for it to disappear is pretty bad. Or having to wait for it to disappear is pretty bad. The crabs kept hiding in the foam. Yeah, I've encountered that as well. I tried to hit a crab and it moved and I stepped into the foam. That's pretty evil. I had to sacrifice a good bit of health to kill the crab. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'll solve that. Let me think. So the spikes and the quicksand, they stay in place. So that's different. The foam disappears after a while, at least. And also if you walk into it, it should disappear. So it's not quite the same as the traps. But I could make it so that it doesn't disappear when you walk into it. But then you can slow walk over it to avoid it. That may be a trade-off. So it only disappears on its own. And I've switched over to decorating the terrain here a bit because it actually not sure why I missed all of this. Well, I'm pretty sure it's because there's just so much terrain to cover. But yeah, I try to vary. I'll try to. I'll always try to break up large patches of same colors. But sometimes I miss them. Okay. So 5 is now better. I think 6 was all just green and brown. But that's okay if it doesn't repeat too much. But 3 is basically the same. 4 as well. Okay, but 4 has many pillars, so I can put down some stone slabs. Make that better. Let's start left top to right bottom. Okay. not that easy. To make this feel natural. Okay, here's a lot of pillars, so just plaster this. And that looks pretty cool, actually. Okay, more fours. Let's make this stone. Okay, I'm getting sand. Let's make this stone as well. Maybe this whole slab. Well, that should be actually rock. Okay. Well, let's make it sand. Put this one rock. That also looks a bit off. Okay. Okay, 4 continues here. Weird. And what is this? That looks okay. That was just me. Yeah, that was just me. I hope I haven't destroyed other bridges, but they'll show up. Okay, let's keep this earthy, and let's make this all stone. That looks pretty good. And sand. What about this rubber camp? I'll make this all stone. And then add a few pillars. Something like that. Okay, let's look at 4. Now it's pretty distinct from 3, for example. Well, kind of. 3 has its temples and stone slabs, but yeah, at least the region itself is more, the sub-region itself is more varied now. And actually, not sure why there are not pillars in here. Seems like a lost opportunity. Yeah, much better. Okay. So maybe one more. Maybe down here. For example, 3. 3 is also pretty samey. Let's put down wood and make it seem like a floating village. Actually, well, okay, so the sharp edges for the stone is just the color. So it looks if a tile is gray, and then just switches the edge tiles. Because I was thinking about making the wood have angled edges. That would be pretty cool. So the planks, basically. But there's no real easy way to do that right now. So I imagine those would have been docks. Not sure if that comes across, but okay, 3. Um, Well, I have this temple here, so it would be weird if the temple was built on piers, but let's just add a few of them. Okay, that would be earth and yeah, I mean that's not bad. Definitely more distinct than before. Let's look at another one of these. Yeah, I could do this to all the villages. And that would make them better. Just so that they're distinct from the non-village parts. Okay, that's good. Okay. And this one. The large one. Okay. I'm being careful not to overdo it, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Maybe this one as well. This house, that one is standing on planks. Let's see what else. What other buildings I have. I can put them all on. I can give them all planks actually. That would make a lot of sense. Okay, do I have another village? I don't think so. I mean, in this area. Here's a house. Come on, break. Okay. Okay, let's jump in. See if it sucks. I don't think so. Should be fine. Okay, this is without breaking. Okay, maybe a bit too busy now. But I may also just need to get used to it. I mean, it's fine. It is really busy. That's mostly the bushes leaving behind the green color. Might actually have to remove that, but that's one way you can tell where you came from. So also quite necessary. Okay, I mean this looks pretty cool. Is there any way? Is there any ways to really deal with turrets without being hit now? Since they fire immediately, it seems a little unfair in areas that don't have cover. You can use to bait the shot. You can sneak. They don't fire if you're sneaking. Oops. So if I I can't cross over to it, but if I would be able to, then yeah, you could just sneak up to them and destroy them. This one, for example. Dumb love, should have thought about that. Yeah, I mean, this completely new mechanic, so don't worry. Take some time to figure out. I also don't explain that in the game, but I think that's fine. Okay. Thanks, game. Yeah, this looks really cool. I like this. Dark effect, that was cool. I was blinded by the centipede. Did you mean that? Is that that's been in the game since forever. Yeah, that's the centipede that can blind you, and it's super annoying. So yeah, the huts having wood around them is actually awesome. I should do that everywhere. Well, I mean, it's it makes most sense here to have peers, but or platforms. I mean, never been hit by a centipede, so I've never seen it. What a flex! What a flex! Yeah, I also increased the path length, so the game is longer now, but I didn't announce that anywhere. That's why the when you jump into the game, it sometimes takes a bit longer, because the path generator has problems. Wait, what did this? Oh, okay, that's that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it triggers immediately. Well, I'm actually not sure if there's a chance on hit or if it always hits you. If it always triggers. Great. So yeah, for the rest of the day, I will add more dungeons, add secret rooms. Vegetation color, I think I fixed that. Clean up some boundaries. And then I will... Well, that's probably all I could do today. Well, still have 9 hours or so. Yeah, that'll be consumed by that. And tomorrow I'll make the new trailer. That will probably take the whole day. Well, actually, I did it a couple of times now. So it should be faster, but I'll have to record a lot of gameplay and hopefully encounter some cool situations that I can then chop up into a, not sure what it was, 30 seconds, 40-second video. That'll be tomorrow. And then, yeah, all the rest of the marketing stuff. So, stream assets, writing the posts, doing the Q&A stream. Not sure when I should do that. Probably next Friday. Because the update this week will be pretty slim. Pretty much focused on the terrain only and fixing some bugs. Maybe tweaking a few things, but no new features or anything. So I could do a stream on Friday. The Q&A stream. That would be pretty cool, actually. So yeah, that's it from me for today, guys. I will be in Discord. Thank you for stopping by. And I will see you. Yeah, I'll stream tomorrow again. So I'll see you tomorrow on stream. All right. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.